Right, so we'll start from the beginning. I'm Kushantha Gunawardana, Microsoft certified trainer, and also I'm the certified Chief Technology Officer for Zigoride Private Limited from Australia, and also I'm the lead trainer for Pro Trainers Hub, which is in Australia and also Sri Lanka as well. So the objective of this training is for you to give understanding of Microsoft Azure, and especially to get people to learn Azure, because as a Sri Lankan, we know that there is huge demand for Microsoft Azure, and there is a demand is everywhere, not only from Australia but also multiple countries looking for Azure engineers. And the next thing is, I would encourage everyone to go to the next step whenever you complete a AZ-900, right? So there was a couple of questions asked by audience requesting to offer you the complete course. Yes, we are offering you complete course. Even though we started with a 1 hour session, we will be taking this forward, and we will be offering you a complete AZ-900 course. And also sometimes you have seen in the internet there were AZ-900 free sessions, but those are only for 1 hour or 2 hour sessions, which does not give entire course content. But we will assure we will be providing you entire course content during this course. So we will be conducting this session every Saturday the same time, so then you can join, and then you can learn about Microsoft Azure. All right, so I think everything is good now. Everybody can hear this, so we will start the session. In Azure, so I'm using Microsoft certified Microsoft set of slides, or Microsoft slide deck for this session. So according to them, this is the last Microsoft, last trainer session, because the thing is they are updating this pretty much every now and then, and I'm using the latest set of slides, right? So there are certain learning paths for you to understand Microsoft Azure content. So first, we'll need to know what is cloud computing, and shared responsibility when you have cloud computing, and cloud models, and also capital and operational costing models. So this is very important to understand. Once you know that, it's very easy to understand other cloud service types like infrastructure as a service, also known as IaaS, platform as a service, PaaS, and SaaS, software as a service, right? So we will see what are those. So before that, I would like to give you some understanding of what is really an Azure. Guys, Azure is something like the renting service. I mean, the computer services renting infrastructure. Now, for an example, let's say if you want to commute, or if you want to go somewhere, you have two options. One is you can have your own car, or you can buy a car and you can use it and it's completely yours. The second option is you can hire a car. There are multiple ways we can hire a car, right? Nowadays we have Uber, we have PickMe in Sri Lanka, and various other apps that you can use to hire a vehicle. Which one is good? Both provides us the commuting. I mean, you can go anywhere, the destination. But if you look at these two concepts, so buying a car need a capital expenditure. You need a lot of money to buy a car. But ride a vehicle, I mean, hire a vehicle using a Uber kind of vehicle, you don't need that much of capital. You only pay for the ride. So the same concept applies here, because if you want to build a data center, the data center is a network center. Those days people call a set of servers in a single location, all the networking and all the network infrastructure. So now we call as data centers. Building data centers is very expensive and it needs a lot of technical skills. What Microsoft did was, as a large and wealthiest companies in the world, one of the largest and wealthiest companies in the world, what they have done was they have invested for large infrastructure, right? Something like this. As I think you can see this. So this is an example for data center. So you can see huge data centers in a single location. So this is usually known as a geography. So Microsoft has over 66 geographies over the world, around the world. So if you look at data centers, if you click on that, so anybody can look into this to understand what is actually Microsoft doing. So it loads Azure Global Infrastructure, and it would show us where Microsoft keeps their data centers. In Australia, we have three regions: Australia East, Australia Central, and Australia Southeast. So, but if you look at Sri Lanka, unfortunately, we don't have any data center here, but we have South India data center and Southeast Asia, which is Singaporean based data center, and we got Jakarta data center in Indonesia. So likewise, there are data centers. So you can see about over 66 regions operated by Microsoft to offer services. So then once they invested, they have not stopped there. Once they invested, they built everything that you need to use as a service, like servers, networks, and various other services. But for this investment, actually Microsoft has done this investment. So they have built servers, the networks, the operating systems, the technology, and also the resources and everyone, right? So then through this, they are offering this service. And then they have created vast application known as Azure. So that through that, you can get your subscription. So subscription is where you can pay for your usage. It's a virtually isolated space for your company, and then you can start building your infrastructure on Azure. Not only infrastructure, but also platform or your software you can build on the Azure, right? For example, so how Azure, how it is look like, how looks like the Azure. So it's something like this, guys, right? So I have already logged in here. So this is the Azure interface. But if you want to learn Azure, you need to learn the concepts. You need to see the course materials that actually Microsoft offers you for free. And also you need access to Azure as well. So where you can get access to Azure. So what you can do is you go to Microsoft. So here, Azure Microsoft. So you can click on Get Started with Azure. There are multiple options that they offer you to create your own Azure account. There are multiple ways. So those days, Microsoft was offering a learner voucher where students can redeem it. Then they can access Azure with $200 credit. But now it is not there. Microsoft temporarily stopped it. And there are options out there for you to use this one. So one option still available is you can create Azure free account here, but you need a credit card to validate you as a real user, right? This validation does not need any payment. So you need to use a credit card to validate you, because otherwise malicious users can use this resource to do something, create a threat for the society. So because of that, you will have to validate. So if you click on that, you will get $200 Azure credit, and then this is available for new customers, meaning you need to have a separate email address to redeem this Azure access, right? So then you don't need any upfront commitment, or you will not be charged unless you upgrade it to pay-as-you-go subscription. So that is how it works. And also you can pay what you use using pay-as-you-go. And also there are multiple other subscriptions available. Subscription is again the method that you use Azure, the way you can use Azure subscription. So if you obtain one subscription, it will be shown in your Azure portal like this. So in my case, we've got two subscriptions here. One is Microsoft Azure sponsorship subscription. The other one is pay-as-you-go subscription. So most of the users today, they use pay-as-you-go subscription. So pay-as-you-go meaning you don't have any commitment with Microsoft. If you think today I'm not going to use Azure again, you can stop it there. You will not be charged, right? But when it comes to long term, let's say you're going to build an infrastructure for a couple of years, so then pay as you go is not very cheap option. Because if you can commit Microsoft, let's say I'm going to create a virtual server today and I'm going to be using this for next 1 year or 3 years, the monthly fee is going to be drastically reduced, right? So I hope you understand. And so this is the Azure infrastructure. So as we go on, I will take you through each and every concept within Azure and each and every feature in Azure as well, which is required for MS AZ-900. So if you go in there, all services, you can see heaps of services listed in Azure. So you don't need to know all the services, guys. So here you can see long list of services here, but you don't need to know everything here. Even Microsoft knows about it. So I started my Microsoft journey, my learning journey when I was, 20 years ago. I'm a Microsoft certified professional for 20 years ago, and I'm training as a Microsoft certified trainer for last, I think, 15 years. So those days when I was starting, we were learning and also educating, teaching Microsoft products like Windows Server 2003 when I started, and Windows Server 2008, 2012. So at that time, Microsoft expected us to know everything about these products. But now, knowing everything about Microsoft Azure is not practical because it has large number of services. But what Microsoft expect is for you to have overall understanding of Azure and know about most important services of Azure. For example, Azure Virtual Machines, Microsoft Azure Storages, Azure Networks. So likewise, there are very important, and also the databases. So there are very important core services Microsoft expect you to know. But other than that, you don't have to know everything in Azure. Another frequently asked question is, why are we going to do AZ-900? Can't we straight away jump into AZ-104, which is Administrator Associate course? Yeah, you can do that, but I always recommend you to start with AZ-900 if you don't have prior knowledge in Azure. But if you have some level of understanding, knowledge, if you use Microsoft Azure for, let's say, 6 months, then you're ready to start your journey in Azure AZ-104. But still, if you're changing your scope, let's say you are an administrator, but now you want to become cloud administrator. So in that case, I would recommend you to start with AZ-900. But why people say even without AZ-900 you can achieve your goals? I agree, because to become Microsoft certified Azure architect expert, guys, our intention is to make you to become Microsoft certified Azure architect expert, right? For example, if you want to search for it, you can say Azure architect expert. So actually, if you wanna now, even if you complete Microsoft AZ-900, don't think that you can start your job next day. It's not going to work, because you need to put some effort in it. You need to achieve this one, Microsoft certified Azure solutions architect expert, right? So when you reach this level, then you are ready to take your job, right? So how to go there? Actually, there are few options available now. Earlier there were few options. Now you need to pass 2 exams to become Microsoft certified Azure architect expert, which is AZ-104 and 305. So let's see how we go AZ-900, and if the demand is high, we are definitely offering you AZ-104 and AZ-305 as well. So stay with us. And the next one thing is, another important thing that I would like to mention here is, there are labs that you can use if you want to, right? This is actually not free, and there are various lab service providers out there. They offer these labs. So as a person who would want to use Azure, if you have this kind of a lab, it's easier for you to understand. So we will see in the future if we can organize something for you to get these labs. Then it's very easy because it gives you step by step access or step by step guidance to do these Azure exercises. Because Azure is, as I said before, it's very practical. Even if you learn, if you watch a video, even with this stream, you will learn the concepts, but you don't learn how to do it. But when it comes to real Azure architectures or Azure engineers, Azure administrators, you need to know how to do it. Now, for an example, this is a sample lab environment offered by one of the lab service providers. So we will try to offer you these labs when it, in the you can get labs for AZ-900. We will organize if you are interested later. So then if you look at this one, so it's easy. You can see, right? So they have given username and password to Azure, access Azure. So in that case, what we can do is you can straight away start, performing some labs here. So everything that you would need to learn in Microsoft AZ-900, they are providing step by step. So how to connect to virtual machine, how to create these, and then you don't need to worry about subscriptions and all that. So these labs comes with subscriptions itself as well. So for example, if you go to subscription, you have the subscription, and not only here you can see, right? So they have already created subscription, and then you can start doing these labs as well, right? So all the labs, even the screenshots are there, then you will really learn hands-on. But if you get only Azure subscription, you will not get this set of instructions as well. So it's another kind of option that you have. And also, as I said before, if you go to learn and learn Microsoft Azure, so if you go in there, so I will post this link here. So this one, you can see the information, a content available released by Microsoft to become Microsoft certified or AZ-900 exam. So you can see here, you would get all these, it's a beginner level exam, role is administrator, how to prepare exam, and everything is there as well. So you can if you click on continue the course, you can see all the areas are given here. So you can get the content but not the labs, right? So there are certain content comes with sandboxes where for smaller, it's like mini labs, you can perform the required activity on that environment as well. So I have given a couple of options for you, with the demand or with the request. Let's see, we can organize these kind of labs for you. Then you can easily learn about Azure, and also you can access Azure infrastructure like this. So this is like actually virtual machine within this one. So you can see it's actually virtual machine in the web interface. So you can access from anywhere, and you can follow this guideline to complete the labs, right? So this is another suggestion. All right, so let's go back to our discussion. And guys, if you have any questions, please do ask as well. And then what is cloud computing, right? That's where we stopped. So what is cloud, guys? Cloud is actually something like, cloud is something that we are getting the rain, right? So then cloud is required or necessary for us to get the rain, but we don't care where the clouds are coming from. So concept is very similar. In this case, we are getting the service that we need, but we don't invest for the infrastructure because Microsoft has already invested for it. So then cloud computing is, we are using the computation power, but hosted by someone else, somewhere else, right? But when it comes to legal requirements, countries like Australia, they would want to keep, even though it's cloud, even though as a Sri Lankans, we don't care where the services are coming from because we don't have any region anyway. But in Australia, as I said before, they have 3 Microsoft regions to host these services. So because of that, they would like to keep their data within Australian region or territory. But some countries like us or Sri Lanka, we We don't care where we keep our data in Azure infrastructure, because we don't have any data center or region in Sri Lanka region. All right, so let's go to the next one. I hope you understand what is a cloud. What is cloud? And then if you go to the cloud computing, for example, so let's do this. Let's go to cloud computing. It's delivery of computer services over the internet, enabling innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. Because we don't have to have or build data centers or invest for it, because Microsoft has always invested. So if you look at the definition, a model for enabling on-demand access to shared pool of configurable computing resources, servers, network, storage, applications, or on-demand network access, and then rapidly provisioned and released with minimum management effort or service provider interaction. So if you want to build a virtual machine, you don't have to contact Microsoft and ask, can you please create a virtual machine for us? You don't have to. You can straight away go to a Microsoft Azure and then you can build it by yourself. Even the network, you can build network components and you can create multiple networks, subnets, and different other network equipments, network appliances like even firewalls within Azure, and even the storage. So in our case, we know, right? So we have in our computers, we have SSD 512 drives or 1 TB drives, or we have external 2 TB drives. But there is a limit for this. But when it comes to cloud, the service providers like Microsoft, cloud service providers like Microsoft, they keep on adding these resources. Because of that, there is no restriction for the size of the storage. So I hope you understand. So let's go to the next one. And then what is private cloud? So there are different kind of cloud services, guys. So what is private cloud? Private cloud is the cloud services offered by an organization within their their scope. Meaning one organization is created and owned and operated by organization that uses cloud resources. It is something very similar to having their own data centers. But the only difference is sometimes organizations create private cloud and offer services to multiple of their, let's say, branches. For example, banks in Sri Lanka, they have their own data centers or their own private clouds only restricted for their own customers. So that is known as private cloud. And then organizations create cloud environment in their data center and self-service access to compute resources provided to users within the organization. And then if you look at public cloud, owned by cloud service providers or hosting provider, and then it is open for anyone, access via secure network connection or your web browser. So Azure, Microsoft Azure is a great example for public cloud, or Microsoft 365. And then hybrid cloud is combination of public and private clouds, right? So then hybrid cloud model have different characteristics. For example, resource location. Specific resources are run or used in a public cloud, others are run or used in a private cloud. So depending on the requirement, you can keep your data in public or private. And also cost and efficiency is there, because whenever you need to keep your own data within private environment, you can use private cloud. Otherwise, you can use a public cloud. And then if you look at the comparison between these cloud services, right? So public cloud, no capital expenditure to set up, because cloud service providers have already invested for it. And then applications can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned, because it's you don't have to think about infrastructure, because that is built by Microsoft in this case. And there are various other cloud service providers as well, like AWS and Google, right? And then organizations only pay for what they use. And if you look at private cloud, hardware must be purchased by the organization and also maintained and also set up. Everything comes to you because you're managing your cloud. And also organizations have complete control. But in our case, if you use Microsoft Azure, we don't have 100% control over the Microsoft cloud. Because if you look at Microsoft Azure, if you create a virtual machine, you don't see underneath layers. I will show you in a minute. And then hybrid cloud provides more flexibility. Organizations determine where to run their applications, and then organizations control security, compliance, and legal requirements. And the next important thing is, if you compare CapEx and OpEx, what is CapEx and OpEx, guys? So CapEx is capital expenditure, OpEx is operational expenditure. So then CapEx or capital expenditure, the upfront spending of money on physical infrastructure. So it deducts the expense from your tax bill and high upfront cost, but the value of your investment reduces over the time. For example, let's say if you purchase a server today in Sri Lanka, I think a decent level server will cost you about 1 million rupees. But even if you invested for it, after a couple of years, the value of the server, it's getting reduced. Right? So if you buy server today for 1 million rupees, next year you can't sell it for 1 million. So it will become, let's say, 800,000. The next year it will become 600,000. Next year about 400,000. So countries like Australia, they have had their life cycle where every 3 to 4 years they are replacing entire hardware, because otherwise it can impact to the performance. And then operational expenditure is spent on products and services that are needed, like pay as you go, right? And also you will get billed immediately. So the same thing that I have given you some examples, like buying a car and using a taxi, or hiring a car or renting a car. So if you compare these two, you will learn this one. So buying a car, you will have to spend a lot, but you will have total control over it. Nobody will tell you anything because it's yours, but you are responsible for the maintenance and various other expenses as well. But if you hire a car, you only pay for the ride. That's it. You're not responsible for anything else, right? And if you look at Microsoft, it's a consumption-based model. Not only Microsoft Azure, but also you can see there are various other cloud services like Amazon AWS, Google Workspace, like Google Cloud. So everybody's offering similar services. Cloud service providers operate on a consumption-based model, and which means end users only pay for the resources that they use. That is very important. Interesting. Because if you build a virtual machine and if you stop it, you don't have to pay. Interesting, right? So if you're creating a virtual machine, you only pay if you are only using it, only for the consumption. So the consumption-based model brings many benefits, including no upfront cost. You don't have to pay upfront. No need to purchase or manage costly infrastructure that may or may not be used to the full extent, because sometimes we build the server, we purchase the server, but we are not using it fully. We are under consuming. And also the ability to pay for additional resources when they are needed, because you are stuck with investing for a server, but you have other expenses, but you can't make it because you're investing all your money for the server. And again, ability to stop paying for resources that are no longer needed, right? So I hope you understand. So now guys, let's go and see what Azure does and what we can do with Azure, right? So let's go to Microsoft Azure. I'll show you a couple of examples here. Now, whenever you activate your Azure, or whenever you get your Azure access, so very important to see whether you have access to Microsoft Azure subscription. Because if you don't have subscription, you can't do anything. You can't create any resource. So everything that we create within Azure known as resource. For example, if you want to build a virtual machine, that is known as a resource. And also, if you want to build a resource, create a resource, you need to use a service. So you can see here all the services listed here. So if you go in there are multiple services out there as well. And also they are properly classified. Now if you go to compute, you can see image templates and SSH keys and virtual machines and so on and so forth, right? So why this star is here, guys? Because if you are frequently using, Microsoft has created here favorites. So your favorite services are listed here for you to immediately access whenever you need. But for example, let's say if you want to add Azure Virtual Desktop to the favorites, you can click on this one and you can see the key is highlighted. And if you go back, you can see here Microsoft Azure Desktop. So once you get it here, you can always drag and drop and you can get it to the here, so then easier to use. And if you no longer frequently using it, you can untick it and then it will be removed from the frequent favorites as well, frequently accessed favorites. Likewise, you can manage your infrastructure the way you want to. And also if you hit here, this is settings. And if you go to appearance, you can make it the way you would like to. For an example, you can use a dark theme if you like, right? So it's something like this. I don't like this one, so I'm gonna use the usual theme. And also this one, you can see it's pretty much hidden. The menu is hidden, but some people would like to have fixed menu. So then you can use this dock option where you can keep this menu always on for you. But I would like to have more space here. Because of that, I'm gonna use collapse. So then in that case, it's not going to be fixed like this, and then it will go away like this, right? And likewise, you can configure flyout. When you do that, this will be gone here like that, right? So then whenever you're not using, it is not going to be here as well. And collapse one and dock one, likewise, you have number of options out there. And then likewise, you can manage your infrastructure or Azure appearance, right? These actually individuals. Now let's say you have 100 people using the same subscription, but still each and every person can have different settings, setup, or change the appearance the way they want to, but infrastructure or the services will not be changed. All right. Okay. So the first thing you need to have is subscription. Without subscription, guys, you can't do anything. For example, some users, they're using Microsoft 365. And still, you can access Azure. I'll show you one of the examples. Let me, start another browser in that case. Let me just open Portal. I just want to show you so this is another portal that I opened up, guys. Here you can see this is Microsoft 365, but if you go to portal.azure.com, it will take you to Azure as well with the same login information, but here you will not see any subscription. So again, this is Azure, guys. If you go to subscription here, you can see no subscription, right? So I hope you understand. So this is another one of our sites where we don't have any subscription, but this one, just see the difference, guys, right? So again, this one is Pro Trainers Hub, and this is actually again another one of our services. This is actually Pro Trainers Hub LK. So this one, you can see it doesn't have any subscription. So the idea is, what will happen if you don't have subscription? Tell me. Why, if you don't have subscription, what will happen? Yeah, what happens is you cannot create any resource. For example, let's say if I want to create a virtual machine resource, and if I want to create it, it says don't have subscription, you can't do that. So if you want to, you can start here, and then you can get $200 free credit to start your Azure journey, right? I hope you understand. But in this case, since we have a subscription, if you go and do the same, if you want to create a virtual machine here, nothing stops us. You can click on that Azure virtual machine, and then you can create virtual machine here, right? So I hope it's clear, right? So because of that, the first thing to do is, if you are working with Azure, you need to have a subscription. So what is subscription again? Subscription is the way that you are managing your dues. How Microsoft charges. Earlier I explained, if you are using Microsoft resources, you need to pay for the usage. and Microsoft is maintaining and keeping track of all your usage, that is fine. And then how Microsoft is going to get that payment, that is through subscription. So there are multiple ways of getting subscription. You can get free subscription at $200, as I said before, and also you can get pay as you go subscription, and sometimes you can through a Microsoft cloud service provider partners like us, you can get a subscription as well if you are a company and start using them, right? So I hope you understand the subscription. And then for the subscription, you can connect your credit card, and then subscription will charge from you or using your credit card. So that is how it works. Another important concept is resource groups. So resource groups are something like a virtual container, right? Virtual containers. So then in order to create a resource, for example, let's go back to our virtual machine thing again. And if you click here, click virtual machine, number one, Microsoft is very interested about what is your subscription. If you don't have subscription, you can't create any resource, right? So then now I have two subscription. I can select which subscription I want to use to create this resource. So guys, again, remember, subscription is your administrative and billing boundary, and also security boundary. Meaning, based on the subscription, you can configure your security, right? Even if you are a global administrator and if you don't have access to the subscription, you can't create any resource in Azure. Global administrator only has access to the identity. Global administrators can create users, and if you don't know about it, don't worry. I will take you through everything. But the global administrator is usually the most powerful identity in Microsoft Entra ID, right? Microsoft Entra ID is the identity system where you can create users in it, right? If you click on manage, if you go to users, you can start creating users. In this case, you can see there are 2 users created, and you can hit here, create user, and you can start creating users here, right? So this is the identity system. So if you are working for a large organization or corporate, you would need to maintain large number of users. There is one question from the chat. So sir, how are the lab service providers? I would like to get access to that. So there are multiple lab service providers. One is Scalable Labs. The other one is Extreme Labs. So likewise, there are a number of lab service providers. But if you can directly purchase labs, but it's a bit expensive, and I will try to offer you like discounted rates after talking to these lab service providers. If you are interested, we'll do that later if anybody is interested in getting labs. So again, your answer to your question is Scalable is one of the lab service providers. The other one is Extreme Labs, and there are a few other lab service providers as well. So as a Microsoft certified partners, Microsoft partners, we are usually using Scalable Labs or Extreme Labs as well. All right. Again, now this is how you're going to create a user. And also, when you create a user, you can give permission to the user to work in Azure, right? So I hope you understand. So let's come back to this point later. But as of now, the resource group is very important. So as I said before, subscription is your billing boundary, administrative boundary, and also it's a security boundary. All right. And then resource group is another important thing. If you go to virtual machine, and if you want to create a virtual machine here, first thing Microsoft interested in your subscription. The second one is resource group. So both are compulsory. Without these two, you cannot create a virtual machine. So let's go and create a resource group, because resource group is, as I said before, it's a virtual container that you can very conveniently manage your resources. If I click on here, it would ask which resource or which subscription that you're going to be using to create this one. So I'm going to use my Microsoft Azure sponsorship, and then I'm going to say AZ-900 is my resource group. So it is going to be my resource group, and I'm going to click here and click create. So when you do that, it will create my resource group. So always you can see whenever you do something in Azure, it shows here. This is our notification window. If you click on that, you can see whether it's successful or not. And guys, the next thing is Microsoft Azure access. We access Microsoft Azure through internet. So it's an internet or browser-based service. So because of that, now I created it, and don't wonder where the resource group went. You have two options. One is just refresh it, guys. Then you would see our resource group, or you can click on go to resource group. That will take us to the resource group as well. As I said before, it's a virtual container. Now let's go and create a virtual machine now. I'm going to go to virtual machines now, and then I'm going to hit create and then virtual machines. And then now it would ask me what is my Microsoft Azure subscription. And then I'm going to select my resource group, and then I need to provide virtual machine name. I'm going to say AZ-900 demo, because then we can understand easily this is created for AZ-900. So even if you are creating resources for your company or organization, mindful to use something understandable, something which gives an understanding even for others, because you are not the only person who are working with this Azure. There can be multiple other people. Then they would know, all right, this machine is created for this particular purpose. That is also known as naming convention for the resources. That is also something that you need to remember. And then it would ask which region that you want to keep my virtual machine. What does it mean? Why do they ask this? Because there are certain laws around the world and standards where they want to keep this data within their territory. Why is that? The idea is, guys, if you remember in Sri Lanka, a few years ago, there was a ship broken and it was carried to Sri Lankan shore, if you remember. And then the captain of the ship was taken to Sri Lankan courts, and it's a Sri Lankan court case. Why is that? The ship is registered in somewhere else, and owners of the ship is sitting in somewhere else. Captain in himself is from some other country. Then why the case is heard in Sri Lankan court? The reason is the ownership, because internationally accepted legal concept is, if something happen within your territory, your local legal system will be applicable. So Sri Lanka, since it's an island, it is not only has our land, but around the sea we have large number of naval miles that is owned by Sri Lanka. So that's the reason that particular case is heard in Sri Lankan court. Same way, if you keep anything in Sri Lanka, the legal concerns or law, applicable law, is Sri Lankan law. Just imagine a Sri Lankan company creates a server on the cloud. Server works, that's fine. But even though we refer this as a cloud, there's a real server with real hardware that you store this information in somewhere. So as I said before, something like this, right? So if you go to Azure infrastructure, I think I demonstrated you here. So if you look at Microsoft Azure, so if you go to geography, so this is where your server is really stored, right? So even though we call this as a cloud, there's a real data center which holds the data of your server. So that's where we're going to select like this. So in this case, I'm going to say East US, because in Sri Lanka, unfortunately, we don't have any Microsoft Azure data center. But when it comes to Australia, we always use Australian data centers here, because according to the standards and also legal concerns, we don't want to keep data out of Australia, right? So I hope you understand. That's the pure reason to do that. But in our case, since we are from Sri Lanka, we can use any data center, because we don't have any option because we don't have our regional data center. And then availability zones are very important concept, guys, because whenever you create a server and you're keeping this data or the related information within one large data center of Microsoft, there is a possibility, even though they have taken all steps to make it highly available, right? So the data centers are highly available. Even the power is gone, they have multiple power supplies, and also they have multiple UPS systems to provide you the power. But there can be unforeseen situations where the power can be not available. So in that case, what will happen to our data? There are multiple high availability features. We will be discussing about those, but still, you want to keep your data highly available. Microsoft has given multiple options to do that. So available zone meaning there are certain regions which has multiple data centers not physically connected, right? So in that case, even the data center goes down, still you have access to your resource because there are availability zone related data centers. So in this case, I'm not going to select these. I'm going to say no infrastructure redundancy is required, and then I'm going to select your security type as well. And then when you build a virtual machine in Azure, you are not going to install Microsoft Windows or Linux on the machine, right? So earlier I explained we don't have full control over this infrastructure, but in a way it's easy. For example, if you want to install Microsoft Windows 2022, you can straight away select which in Windows version you want to have in your virtual machine. And also there are Ubuntu kind of open source systems out there, Red Hat, and there are so many images out there as well. You can see there are large number of virtual machine images out there as well. So you can see here, right? So 13,875. So many images, operating systems. You can see about 694 pages, right? So I'm going to again go back here, and then I'm going to select 2022 data center, right? And also virtual machine size, because depending on your requirement, you should be able to select your hardware, which hardware you would like to use, right? So in this case, we can use whatever the hardware we can use, and also it gives you, and also if you click on that, it has so many different kind of sizes. You can select which one is which one you need, right? For example, I'm going to open another tab and show you where to find this information if you would like. And there are some features like pricing calculators. For example, if you want to click on virtual machine, and then if you click on here, it will take us to the pricing guy. So you can see there are different types of virtual machines out there depending on your usage requirement, right? So there are A series, those are actually fundamental or testing and development environments, and B series, a burstable economical series, and also D series, general usage. So likewise, you can select different kind of virtual machines. Also, you can see per hour basis, they are charging for each and every machine. You can see 2 cores, 4 GB, 8 GB temporary storage. If you click on that, you would see how much you're going to be charging for a 1 month. So usually 1 month defined by 730 hours. So you can see end of the month, you will be charged $36 for this one, right? And also if you go to D series, right? So you can see there are different sizes out there as well. So if you go in there, you can see 4 virtual CPUs and 8 GB RAM, then you will be charged 121. So then before you start using them, you would actually know how much you will be charged once you create that one, right? And then you need to configure, just leave it there. You want to configure a administrative username. So I'm going to say local admin here, right? And then I'm going to configure a password. And then again it would ask, how am I going to connect to this virtual machine? So then before we configure virtual machine, we usually configure network, but in this case I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to show you on the first session how to create a virtual machine with this. And then you're going to be reviewing these, and then you can hit create once this evaluation or the validation is completed. So it says you have RDP port open to internet, and it's only for the testing. And if you want to change settings, you can go and change the settings. So you can see running final validation. Let's wait for some time, and now it's done. We are past the validation. And then if you hit, now you can see all the configurations that we have done as a summary. You can see here, and then if you hit create, it would create the resource. So it would not take even a minute. You can see initial deployment is happening. This is where, as I said before, our notifications are displayed, the notification window. Once this is completed, your virtual machine is ready. All right, so let's see how we go, and then you can access this one as well. Right, so then initial deployment is happening. Now in the back end, Microsoft is working, or Azure services are running for us to create this service, right? So it's submitting the deployment, and in couple of minutes, couple of seconds, you can see it's keep on it's completed. Right? You can see deployment in progress. And now guys, I hope you remember we created resource group, right? So in the resource group, you can see all the small components that are required for a virtual machine is listed. So I'm going to go into resource group, and we created one resource group. Now you can see different kind of components are appearing here, because the reason is when you're creating a virtual machine, it needs multiple components, including virtual machine, public IP to communicate, and then network security groups. We will come back to this point later, and also VNet, virtual networks, and also the interfaces and the hard disks to have operating systems, and so on and so forth. So they have everything created. Now still deployment in progress. And again guys, as I explained earlier, remember we are using web technology. So because of that, always it's good to refresh and see what are the components that we have. Now it's done. And also you can see location is US. And you can see now, as I said before, resource group is a virtual container. So otherwise we will be creating those resources everywhere. We created this one, but Microsoft created this one for us to watch the network. Because guys, when you create a virtual machine, it does not create only the virtual machine, but also it has created public IP, virtual network, and so on and so forth. But when you become an architecture later, you're not going to create a virtual machine like this, but first you will plan your infrastructure, and then you will create your network first, and then you will create virtual machine to connect to virtual net. Right, now we are good. So let's go to resource now. It will take us to virtual machine here. Now you can see the virtual machine we created, and also we have created public IP address. That is where we're going to connect to the virtual machine, and all these information are given here. Now let's see we can connect to virtual machine. There are a number of ways that we can connect to virtual machine. We will discuss this as we go, but AZ-900 only expect us to demonstrate how to connect to the virtual machine that we created. Now if you go in there, you can see the virtual machine is running, guys, right? So here you can see virtual machine is running. The location is East US, and these are subscription IDs and other information, the size of the virtual machine. And if you want to connect it, you go here, and we can download RDP because we configured RDP is as a connectivity mechanism. So I'm going to click on this one, and then it will take us to here, and I'm going to click connect. We should be able to connect to Azure virtual machine as well. Now it would ask the password. So I need to enter the password that we entered, and then click on hit OK, and then it gets us the remote desktop connection. Now it is going to connect to our Azure virtual machine. So I'm going to show you how the virtual machine look like, and you can see we are connecting to newly created virtual machine by us. right? So now it's been created. So you can see it'll take some time, because whenever you are logging to first time when you're logging to a Azure virtual machine or any virtual machine or any computer, it would do some configuration, creating user profile and so on and so forth. And then once this is done, you can see the server that you created is up and running. So whenever you create a server, guys, so this is my virtual machine that we created, and if I double click on the Microsoft Edge browser, I'm going to say start without data, confirm and continue, and then continue without data, and then confirm and start browsing. And the thing is here, you can see whenever you create a browser, it ready to go to internet. So if you go to Google, for example, you are there, right? So we built a virtual machine and also access internet. So in order to access internet, you don't have to do anything, because by default, whenever you create a virtual machine in Microsoft Azure, it gives us access to internet as well. So that is one of the reasons. If you want to get a subscription, you need to provide your credit card information, because Microsoft need to authenticate to see if you are real and authentic person. So I'm not going to go to configure anything in this virtual machine, because I just want to show you how to create virtual. All right, so I hope you understand what we did today. So if you want to, you can shut down the server like this, right? So then it will power off the system or server, or you can just close it, and then you can close the connectivity, and also you can see system is running, and then you can stop it from here as well. Whatever the ways you can do that, or you can, you don't have to stop the machine, and you can start configuring this one and access from the external sites as well. So we planned this session to run 1 hour, guys. So we had a couple of technical issues in the beginning, but I hope after that it went well. And thank you very much for joining. And I will, I think there are no questions. If you have any questions, guys, please do ask. So I have I answered all the questions before. With this, we will, we're going to close the session for today. But with next week, we are going to continue this session. So if you are interested, you can join with this, and then this video will be there in the internet. And then next Saturday, we're going to go to the next session or the lesson to complete AZ-900. So the objective is to provide you complete free AZ-900 course without deducting any component, because what we have seen is most of the AZ-900 courses, they shrink entire course to 1 hour or 2. So then students will not understand complete course, right? So because of that, we will try to give you information as much as possible, and then we will run course, because AZ-900 is usually 1 day course, meaning it needs at least 8 hours to complete. So we will have 8 days to complete this course. But if the demand is high, I'm gonna conduct some sessions like 2-hour sessions to complete this course faster. And then if you have any questions, you can comment here, ask from our team, and then they will come back to you with the answers as well. So with this, I'm going to wind up. Thank you very much. Have a very good evening, and see you next time.